In the previous spoiler, it was mentioned that Luo Feng survived the self-destruction of the Immortal Assassin. Are you curious why, despite the limited time available for the assassination attempt, the Immortal Assassin did not choose to escape using Divine Kingdom teleportation, hide temporarily, and wait for another opportunity to assassinate later? This is because Divine Kingdom teleportation leaves behind spatial fluctuations that last for about a minute, which is long enough for a universe venerable to pinpoint the location of the Immortal's Divine Kingdom. Under normal circumstances, a universe venerable can easily destroy an Immortal's Divine Kingdom. Once their Divine Kingdom is lost, an Immortal's strength can never improve, and they may even face demise due to the depletion of their divine power. Thus, escaping through Divine Kingdom teleportation and attempting another assassination on Luo Feng would have had almost zero chance of success. By comparison, the terrifying heat and shockwave generated by a close-range self-destruction had a success rate of over 90% in killing Luo Feng. As a soul-enslaved servant, the Immortal Assassin had no hesitation in choosing self-destruction. This is precisely the terrifying aspect of soul slaves. However, the assassin never expected that Luo Feng possessed clones. Under normal circumstances, human warriors do not have clones unless they cultivate extremely rare secret techniques. However, such techniques usually come with significant limitations, such as clones being unable to stray too far apart. Of course, if one attains a sufficiently high level of mastery in certain great Tao of laws, they can indeed create multiple clones through sheer strength alone, but reaching such a realm would require at least the power of an eternal true god. Returning to the plot, as the artificial intelligence followed protocol and transmitted the information to the stationed universe venerable, he quickly arrived at the scene. Luo Feng then provided a detailed account of the incident. Naturally, he could not reveal the complete truth, especially when it came to his own secrets. He could only use carefully crafted lies to conceal them. For instance, how did a Domain Master level 9 withstand the spiritual energy attack of a 9th rank World Master and survive the assault of an Immortal Assassin? After careful deliberation and calculations, Luo Feng ultimately decided to fabricate an explanation where he claimed that his World Master level soul servant and bodyguard easily fended off the World Master Assassin, and that his servant then detonated a fire divine crystal, perishing together with the Immortal Assassin. This explanation was the most logical based on the battle traces and lingering energy at the scene. After listening to Luo Feng's account, the Universe Venerable did not make things difficult for him. Instead, he compiled the report, made his judgment, and handed over the follow-up handling to the 5 King Immortals in charge of the Starfield Scrapyard's affairs. However, even though Luo Feng's lies were almost flawless, one of the person in charge, King Yanzhu, or known as King Nightmare Candle, remained relentless in his scrutiny, determined to uncover any inconsistencies. King Nightmare Candle first demanded that Luo Feng release his soul defenses so that he could directly perform a soul search to read his memories. After all, memories cannot be falsified. However, fully releasing one's soul defenses is extremely dangerous, as if the person performing the soul search harbors ill intent and deliberately manipulates the process, it could lead to severe consequences. At best, Luo Feng's memories could become disordered. At worst, he could suffer brain damage and lose his ability to think, an outcome equivalent to death for a warrior. When Luo Feng refused to comply, King Nightmare Candle shifted his focus to questioning the source of the Fire Divine Crystal. After all, Fire Divine Crystals are extremely expensive. Even for a Domain Master level genius from the primordial void space, affording one would be incredibly difficult, let alone the fact that Luo Feng had no proof of purchase. However, what King Nightmare Candle never expected was that Luo Feng not only possessed an E9 grade laser gun but also had a wealth of rare treasures, making his financial resources far superior to those of ordinary immortals. Compared to these, acquiring a Fire Divine Crystal was not difficult for Luo Feng. After all, lacking proof of purchase did not mean it was impossible to obtain, where many items are traded through special channels that leave no transaction records. Of course, this was merely the excuse Luo Feng used to counter King Nightmare Candle's argument. In fact, both his laser gun and rare treasures were spoils he had obtained from desperate level missions rather than purchases. However, since no one could verify these experiences, King Nightmare Candle had no grounds to refute him. Seeing that financial scrutiny was ineffective, King Nightmare Candle then turned his attention to Luo Feng's supposed soul servant. It is almost impossible for a Domain Master to enslave a World Master, not to mention that soul enslavement techniques are extremely rare and difficult to execute without revealing flaws. However, what King Nightmare Candle did not realize was that Luo Feng's open use of the Yunemo starship meant that he no longer needed to hide his identity as the successor of Yunemo Planet. As a fellow member of the Virtual Universe Company, King Longju naturally had some understanding of Luo Feng's background and was able to vouch for him. Moreover, within the entire Qianwu universe country, there were only a few hundred immortals, yet Hu Yanba alone had control over 9 immortal-level soul slaves, which made him quite renowned. Therefore, it was entirely reasonable for Luo Feng to inherit Hu Yanba's soul enslavement technique. Additionally, the universe-level slaves Luo Feng had previously purchased were completely bound by life chips, rendering them utterly incapable of disobeying their master's orders. Under such circumstances, enslaving a stronger warrior was by no means impossible. And once someone became a soul slave, as long as they possessed sufficient talent, with their master's abundant resources, advancing from universe level to world master level was a natural progression. As such, Di Fan was the best example of this. However, despite Luo Feng's flawless responses, King Nightmare Candle was unwilling to give up. He secretly ordered one of his immortal subordinates, who specialized in fire, to retrieve a broken weapon and disguise it as a relic left behind by the immortal assassin. From this, he deduced that the immortal assassin was actually a fire immortal and that the traces of fire at the scene were caused by his self-destruction. With this, he attempted to overturn Luo Feng's claim regarding the fire source crystal. He even sought to use this as a pretext to directly prosecute Luo Feng and imprison him in the Starfield prison, intending to take advantage of the perilous conditions there to quietly eliminate him. Although the King Immortals present were puzzled by King Nightmare Candle's deliberate targeting of Luo Feng, none of them dared to intervene. The reason was simple: King Nightmare Candle's father was a universe venerable, a being even more powerful than a 9-sword venerable. Moreover, King Nightmare Candle was his only son, cherished and pampered since childhood, which fostered his arrogant and domineering nature. Even other King Immortals hesitated to offend him out of fear of his father's authority. However, King Jinyan was not one to cower in fear. Known for his righteousness, he had never backed down from King Nightmare Candle's overbearing nature. Instead, he had personally taught him a lesson. King Nightmare Candle had challenged King Jinyan multiple times but had been repeatedly and humiliatingly defeated, leaving him utterly disgraced. As a result, he bore an intense grudge against King Jinyan, vowing never to let it go. Since he was powerless against King Jinyan himself, he turned his attention to Luo Feng, his most cherished disciple. Now that an opportunity had finally presented itself, he was determined to convict Luo Feng by any means necessary, even if his accusations were baseless. Seeing the situation grow dire, Luo Feng had no choice but to invoke the names of King Jinyan, 9 Swords Venerable, and even Master of Tianshi Palace to force King Nightmare Candle to reconsider the consequences of detaining a core member of the Virtual Universe Company without authorization. While King Nightmare Candle's father might not fear 9 Swords Venerable, he was utterly powerless against Master of Tianshi Palace. If King Immortals occupied the lowest rung in the power structure of the human race, and Universe Venerables belonged to the middle tier, then Master of Tianshi Palace was in the upper middle tier, if not the true upper echelon. After all, he alone could command awe throughout the entire Blood River world, easily slaying Universe Venerables and even rivaling an ordinary Universe Master in strength. He was a truly terrifying existence. Upon hearing the name of Master of Tianshi Palace, even though King Nightmare Candle was unwilling, he could not verify the authenticity of Luo Feng's connection to him. Thus, he did not dare to rashly send Luo Feng to the Starfield prison. Instead, he had no choice but to temporarily confine him in a palace within the scrapyard Starfield. Not long after, King Longju arrived with an order from a Universe Venerable of the Virtual Universe Company, securing Luo Feng's release. After all, without sufficient evidence, the Virtual Universe Company would never allow an external force to arbitrarily handle one of its core members. Furthermore, Luo Feng was already acknowledged as the most gifted genius in thousands, if not tens of thousands, of editions of Pinnacle Genius Battle. It was exceedingly rare for anyone to earn a promotion in their very first qualification battle, and his astounding potential had long since drawn the attention of numerous King Immortals and even Universe Venerables. With his plan for revenge foiled, King Nightmare Candle could only quietly order his subordinates to send his divine power imprint to Earth. This way, he could use Divine Kingdom teleportation to instantly descend upon the planet. This signified that an impending crisis was about to once again engulf Earth, yet Luo Feng remained completely unaware. After regaining his freedom, Luo Feng, accompanied by King Longju, resumed selecting the highest quality Zerg remains. In fact, he had acquired far more Zerg remains than he had purchased. With the formidable ability of Irina to cultivate Zerg warriors, Luo Feng estimated that in just a few hundred years, he could command a Zerg army exceeding 1,000,000 in size. Additionally, due to the sheer volume of Zerg remains Luo Feng had purchased, the transaction amount had reached a threshold that granted him a free treasure hunt in the Scrapyard Mountains. Thus, after making his selections, he was led by 2 guides to embark on a year-long treasure hunting expedition in the Scrapyard Mountains. The so-called scrapyard mountains were vast accumulations of debris discarded over countless years by the intelligence systems that processed the remnants of war. These discarded materials, deemed to have no commercial value, had piled up across the entire starfield in unfathomable quantities. However, due to occasional errors in classification, an extremely rare number of invaluable treasures might have been mistakenly discarded among the refuse. If one were fortunate enough, they could unearth a treasure comparable to the assets of a king immortal. However, the odds of such an occurrence were exceedingly slim. For Luo Feng in his current state, the ordinary items found in the scrapyard mountain could no longer pique his interest. As such, the treasure hunting activity felt more like a casual pastime with little significance. However, he never expected that shortly after he began his search, he would faintly sense a weak force calling out to him. Following the source of this summoning, he was startled to discover that the force originated from a fragment of black battle armor. As Luo Feng approached, the fragment seemed to possess a will of its own and suddenly lunged toward him. If not for the protection of the Mo-Yun armor, the fragment might have directly merged into his body. To investigate its value and function, Luo Feng deliberately withdrew the Mo-Yun armor and allowed the fragment to merge into his arm. Instantly, a protective arm guard formed, causing his arm strength to surge to the level of a 9th-rank world master. It was important to note that Luo Feng's human clone was currently only at the 9th-rank domain master level, yet with the power of this fragment alone, he could directly reach the 9th-rank world master level. This indicated that the fragment's value far exceeded that of an ordinary weapon. After all, amplification secret techniques were highly prized precisely because they enabled warriors to break past their physical limits. However, not everyone could cultivate amplification secret techniques successfully where factors such as bloodline, genetics, and individual talent imposed restrictions. For example, Luo Feng, having inherited the legacy of a divine general, had achieved a mental power amplification exceeding 3,000 times. Similarly, King Junyan had used a unique amplification secret technique to reach the ranks of an invincible titled king. Such achievements were far beyond the reach of ordinary warriors. Thus, the sheer value of a fragment capable of producing such terrifying amplification effects was self-evident. Upon realizing the fragment's potential, Luo Feng immediately requested the guide to take him to different areas of the scrapyard mountain for a large-scale search. Any location where he sensed the calling became a key focus of his treasure hunt. Of course, to avoid arousing suspicion from the intelligence system, he deliberately collected some other wreckage besides the armor fragments to cover his true objective. During his search, Luo Feng discovered that these fragments could merge with each other before reaching saturation, and as the degree of fusion increased, the power contained within them grew stronger. Additionally, he made an unexpected discovery: a silver armor fragment, which was 10 times more powerful than the black armor fragments. However, silver armor fragments were extremely rare. After nearly a year of meticulous searching, Luo Feng finally gathered a complete set of black armor fragments. When he merged all the fragments into his body and activated them, a full set of battle armor instantly covered him. Rather than calling it battle armor, it would be more accurate to describe it as an unmatched weapon. The armor not only provided immense physical protection but also significantly weakened soul attacks. Most importantly, it greatly enhanced the wearer's base strength. However, due to Luo Feng's human body being only at the domain master level, his limited power allowed him to utilize less than 1/10 of the armor's potential. In contrast, the golden horned beast was a naturally perfect match for it. Having reached the world master level, the golden horned beast's base strength was already at least 10 times that of a human world master. When paired with the complete battle armor, its combat power soared to 1,000 times that of a human world master. In other words, even though the golden horned beast was merely at the world master level, with the armor activated, its combat power had already reached the peak of an immortal army lord, even approaching that of a Marquis immortal. Such an astonishing boost was simply unimaginable. Just imagine if Luo Feng had obtained this complete battle armor before encountering the immortal assassin. The golden horned beast would have been able to crush the assassin with absolute dominance. Even more terrifying was the fact that, if further enhanced by various amplification secret techniques, the golden horned beast's strength could potentially surpass the threshold of a Marquis immortal, allowing it to obliterate the immortal assassin with a single strike. Repeatedly attacking dozens or even hundreds of times, the immortal assassin would ultimately face his demise. One might wonder, wouldn't the golden horned beast's massive body require an enormous quantity of black armor fragments? However, this was not the case. The battle armor could freely adjust its size, so the total amount of fragments required was the same as for the human clone. Moreover, while the fusion of black armor fragments could continuously increase their power, once they reached saturation, adding more fragments would no longer improve the battle strength further. Unfortunately, by the time the treasure hunting period ended, Luo Feng had only managed to collect a single complete set of battle armor. However, what was worth noting was that as long as a clone had cultivated the secret manual, it could activate the armor. In other words, both his human body and the golden horned beast could use it. To further collect fragments, Luo Feng decisively purchased the Scrapyard Starfield's supplementary treasure hunting service. To outsiders, he seemed to be wasting his talents obsessing over worthless scraps to the point that even King Longju couldn't help but advise him against it. After all, at Luo Feng's level, he should be focusing on cultivation to enhance his own strength rather than spending time on seemingly useless pursuits. However, they simply couldn't fathom that these inconspicuous black armor fragments contained such astonishing power. Imagine if the entire human race could don this battle armor, how would it reshape the dynamics of the extraterritorial battlefield? Keep in mind that the number of world masters far exceeds that of immortals. If every world master could unleash the peak combat strength of an immortal army lord like the Golden Horned Beast, just how terrifying would humanity's overall power become? At that point, when facing alien races, humanity would no longer have to rely solely on a handful of peak powerhouses. Instead, the entire race's combat strength would undergo a qualitative transformation. That being said, does this newly acquired battle armor of Luo Feng leave you in awe? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching this video. Wish you a wonderful day.